could respond back with and attach your rosters, like whatever spreadsheet you use to contact your players, with your roster and contact information and birth dates. That's something I need for the newsletter to, create that, so birth dates and contact info, so that I don't have to blast the newsletter to you and then you get it to your parents. I'll have everything right there. Second thing too is, I think this is a very important night. I know, I'll try to keep it very, very quick here. And I'm sure, we can talk, after another date, to get all the way through this. But I think this is very, very important, because I'm gonna be working, solely with the kids in the winter. And I think a lot of, their development is going to be determined on how well in sync we are. How are we on the same page as a staff, or are we just gonna start confusing the shit out of our players come springtime when you're saying the same thing in a different manner? And, so I think it's very, very important we stay on track. And I'm very excited to start this process. So tonight, first out there is tip of the iceberg. This is in a nutshell, just the very basics. I think that we want to, get on paper and be consistent about the overall philosophy. And this is something that I've really stuck to. I know a lot of Major League ball clubs, when we talk about scouting, I'm now friends with Junie Melendez, who's the head guy for the Cleveland Indians. Mike Squires, I got to meet him this past weekend. At the top levels, the main philosophy is 90% of hitters' problems originate with the inability to load to a proper hitting position. And so what that means is, especially at the major league level, everybody's a good athlete. You know what I mean? So from here to here is all athletic ability, hand-eye coordination, you know what I mean? But what most guys fail to do is just load to a proper hitting position. And that's something that, I see in high school level, down at the 9s and 10s, 11s, a lot of things that you can fix is just getting into a good hitting position. So the basic here, I think is something for us important, as you're, watching a kid swing, is just really start at the beginning, start at a stance. Don't even start getting into, how his hands are working, how his hips are working. Really have these kids, especially at the younger age groups, your guys' groups, they have to master a stance. Some of these older kids are kind of set in their ways, and especially you guys too at 13. If we can start implementing these good habits at that young age, they're going to be much better off for it. So the basics here, before you want to address with the hitter before moving on to physical fundamentals, which is the actual swing or motion fundamentals. The stance, the one thing with the stance too is there's a shitload of them. You know what I mean? You start here, you can start here. As long as you're getting to certain checkpoints within your swing, you're fine. So I kind of give you the generic stance that I like to teach guys. Obviously, feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart, toes squared up to the plate. You'll see here a common theme is I call no duck feet. Duck feet to me is, here, especially with the back foot here. If you've ever heard of the term squish the bug, 10 years ago that was something that guys were teaching me. I got to squish the bug, squish the bug, and all that was teaching kids is to rotate here on their backside. Okay, and when you get rotated here with duck feet, all you do is rotate. Okay, you've probably heard of the linear hitting and rotational hitting. You talk to any major league scout, they'll because they get it all the time. Oh, do you teach linear or rotational? They look at you and they laugh and they say we teach neither. We teach it, kind of pretty much teach both. Part of your swing is linear, part of your swing is rotational. The way I teach it and the way I tell people that I teach it is. Our lower half and our hands are linear. Rotation naturally happens with the hips and our core. Okay, so if you can think of squish the bug, what duck feet does is I'm here. Now to get to my good power position here, I literally have to rotate and squish that bug. My power stays right here and rotates on this axis. Versus if I'm squared in or my toes are square, it almost creates. Let me get to where you can see me. It creates a shortcut for my power to work from. Okay, so now I'm getting linear. Okay, with my action here versus just rotating, if you can see the difference there. So duck feet, toes squared up to the plate, feet in line, slightly open I think is okay, but I do not like guys staying closed off. It really limits what you're able to do on the inner half of the plate. Okay, so if I'm here and I see guys that are closed, really, especially when you get a little bit older, guys can start jamming inside with some good velo on a fastball. You're really limited to the outer half of the plate, and that's it. Something that at the high school level and definitely at the college level, I mean, our catchers are taught to read this. So if he sees this, welcome to the 88-mile-an-hour fastball that you have no chance at. Okay, it's double play city for us. So, you know, I like, you know, for guys to be even. What I mean by even is there, okay? Or slightly open. I don't mind if they're open as long as they don't finish closed, and as long as they manage their weight properly in their load. And what I mean by that is I don't want them to come back and stride and start working this way. They got to stride back and redirect their weight either straight forward, or they're going to be a simple guy that's just kind of a step, and they get back to even. Does that make sense? So that's the stance, 50-50 or 60-40 with your weight distribution. I don't like guys to start all the way back. I like guys to start on the front. You know, it's either 50-50 or a slight 60-40. And I'll get into more reasons talking about rhythm as to why I like 50-50 or 60-40 to start with. Here's the two big ones. Hands slightly below shoulders with proper barrel positioning. One of the big things I don't like, I want to see guys start way back here, arm the arm. Okay, when you don't have flexion in that arm, first movement with the barrel's going to be there. You're going to cast it out, you're going to be long, you're going to roll over. Not going to be very efficient. You're going to cover really 1/3 of the plate, okay, with efficiency. So what I tell guys is put the bat on your shoulder here and just lift it up, and that's where you start. Okay, and then with that, okay, when we load our hands, we should have very slight, you know, we don't want a lot of movement. I want it up here, down. We want, I call it 2 inches, 2 and 2, 2 back, 2 up. So boom, now I'm ready to hit. Barrel positioning, this is a key one. You got barrel wrappers and I got barrel setters. Okay, a barrel wrapper, you guys have heard of it, this guy wraps his barrel around his fucking head. Okay, and what that does to me is that makes him long to the baseball. Okay, I'll get into it more, but I call it A to C. A is my starting position, C is contact. My barrel's wrapped around my head. I cast again. Okay, that's got to be the first movement here. A barrel setter, this guy just sets his barrel back here somewhere in there. Okay, sorry. Kidness, yeah, well, Kidness, he'll start here, but again, he gets to a checkpoint. Boom, he barrel loads.
Explain to me how Lonnie Chisenhall hits the baseball from his hand position.
I'm trying to visualize Lonnie Chisenhall. He's just an athlete.
Okay.
No, but he brings it up.
Barely.
He brings it
Julio
up.
Franco.
Barely.
He's almost as
Julio
Lonnie
the
Chisenhall.
rapper.
I'm sorry. He's almost at his waist with his hands.
Yeah, but when he loads,
Sick athlete.
he'll get up in here.
He was. But where
He
was
don't
his
start
power?
Hey,
Where was his
Well,
power?
sorry, he won't
center.
fire.
He was-
He may start here and get there.
he plays.
Yeah, guys like that. I think there's one guy I really like to focus on is Brantley. Brantley's kind of got that generic, it's a good swing to teach off of. Chisenhall is not a good swing to teach off of. You know what I mean? For the sake of fundamentals.
It's always on the Indian.
Let's see here. Hands slightly above shoulders, proper barrel positioning. There's something else, I'll get to. It's called barrel load. Okay, and this is actually more advanced. This is probably more, tip of the iceberg kind of stuff. But it's something you'll see out of a lot of major league hitters. And what a barrel load is it allows you to put your barrel in a position where you're going to be top hand dominant. And what I mean by that is this bat is split in half. You got, every bat has only stripes. My bottom hand controls the knob. My top hand controls my barrel. So you want to be a top hand hitter because that's the part you want to be able to control. So if I'm a barrel wrapper, okay, you kind of just visualize my hands. I have to pull with my bottom hand as I swing. I'm a bottom hand guy. I'm not powerful. Okay, if I'm a barrel setter, if you kind of look at my hands, what's going to initiate the physics here? My bottom hand is going to pull my barrel. It's going to be long and slow through the hitting zone. Okay, so when we talk about a barrel load, if you really watch really good major league hitters, most of them will get to this position right there. Okay, some guys will be more towards second, or like the opposite infielder. When I try to exaggerate it with my guys, I'm a lefty, so when I try to load my barrel, I'll try to get the top of my bat slightly tilted towards the shortstop. So I'm here, boom. Now if you kind of see my hand positioning, now my top hand here is the dominant hand through the hitting zone. Okay, so if you're a barrel wrapper, boom, bottom hand guy. If you're a barrel setter, bottom hand guy. If you can get somewhere in here, now it doesn't have to be that. Okay, I would actually prefer something right in there. Okay, for the sake of us not having guys that can handle a bat like a major league guy with the amount of strength. Okay, so somewhere right in there. So now we're going to be top hand dominant. Okay, does that make sense? Don't want it here, don't want it here, definitely want it tilted back. Somewhere right in there. Some kind of tilt back in towards the field and right there, not back here. So, also this is another thing that we see with a lot of hitters, and it's tough to see because you don't have that angle from third base. It's very good to see when you're going front toss. focus on his eyes. You know, what type of, see the guy that kind of buries his head? You know, and he's really only working with one eye here, okay? You'll really notice guys that have a hard time making contact, you know, or squaring baseballs up. Sometimes the easiest thing to do is just boom, put them here. Now they're tracking that baseball a lot better. Especially when you get a kid that, you're like, damn, that kid's a good athlete. You know, he's got pretty good fundamentals, he just can't fucking hit it. Sometimes you just turn his head like 2 more inches, boom, now he's tracking the ball crystal clear. So head positioning is also another good one. Stride or load. Again, with the strides, stance, stride, and swing, there's a million different variables, but just to give you the basic generic one, the key terms here that I want us to really master with our players is our hands and weight shift back, and only our front side or our front foot is the only thing that goes forward. Okay, so if I'm here and I'm a hitter, I'm in my stance. Okay, when it comes time to stride or load, my hands and my weight shift back and my front foot goes forward, so something like that. Okay, boom, do it again, do it right there. All right, what you see a lot of guys do, what do they do? Boom. Weight follows the front foot. Okay, so somewhere right in there. Now I'm kind of in my 60-40-ish area, and you know I got power stacked on my backside to be able to drive the ball. Keep weight in between the knees. One big thing you'll see is when kids load, they'll start. Oh, go ahead.
Stride. Where are you at with the guy that just healed us?
He just picks up, puts down.
Yep.
Good question. Well, I guess we'll get to it here. If you're a guy that just picks up, puts down, just
Yep.
that's it.
You're good with that?
Yep. If you're an open guy, okay, I call it the check mark just because visually it looks like a check mark to me. Is I'm going to start my check mark kind of at the top. Okay, I'm here. I rock my weight back, and then I have to redirect. There. I see a lot of kids fuck themselves up because they either start open, stay open.
Well, they never redirect. They're always
Exactly.
redirect. They're over redirect.
Exactly. Yep. You got two ways. You're either here, now you're open, or you're here, you're diving in.
Right.
You know, a good coach, pick up on that easy and you're out. I don't care how good you are. But yeah, but with those guys too, something you want to be very, very careful. And I know I put it in here somewhere, is heel spinners. It's a very tough thing to correct. It's a kid that usually won't stride. Okay, he'll just pick his heel up, he'll do this, and then he'll just spin. Okay, so if you look here now, I'm here as I'm throwing all my weight, my power. Okay, here comes my barrel, I'm wide open here, all my power is drifting out. And you can see this movement here. It's a chain reaction, I call it here. Boom, there goes the heel, here comes the hip. Everything's attached. And now my barrel path, you know what I mean? And everybody, oh, don't like the fucking shirt, do this, do that. No, it's right there, that's what starts it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I can stay firm here, that's gonna keep everything else in direction and in line.
You want that front side closed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, and something I'll actually get more to. But back to what I was talking about, keeping the weight in between the knees. What I'll see a lot of kids, okay, yeah, I'm 11 years old, I'm in here, good, no duck feet, good. Okay, let's stride. Boom, back foot's opened up again. Just naturally happens. They get in that soft clay and stuff. They're not used to loading and keeping all that weight in between their knees here. Okay, and I think if it's something we can master, especially at the younger age groups, okay, we'll have a better platform to drive off of. So when they're loading, they should really feel, and ask them if they feel it too. You know, if I'm here, boom, weight's outside my knees, guess what, I'm gonna rotate. You know what I mean? I'm gonna squish the bug here. But if I'm here, boom, it's such a subtle movement. Okay, and they'll feel it. They'll feel more pressure on this. You know, if you do it yourself, you'll feel your quad tighten up. Okay, right here, boom, now you're gonna be explosive. So, keep weight between the knees. Hands should slot slightly above and behind shoulder with proper barrel position. Covered that. Okay, I call it 2-2, 2 back, 2 up. Just right there. Okay, pretty simple. Always look for elbow, or head should not move obviously. Always look for elbow loads and back elbow positioning. This is why I said I like to preach Brantley. Not a big fan of elbow up. And the big reason is, you know, when you get up in here, you tie yourself off. Usually guys will cast when they're elbow up, and you know, you'll see a lot of major league guys do it. And quite frankly, it's just because they're better athletes and they can handle the bat in that manner. But for the sake of you know, being consistent as a hitter, with the elbow down, you're going to be much more apt to be able to stay inside the ball and create a nice short stroke. The reason I like teaching Brantley, because when you see him swing, he almost reminds himself. Elbow down, elbow down, elbow down, and he's right there. Okay, what an elbow load is to me, and I'll face you guys here, are guys that tie themselves up so when they load their hands, shoulders go with it, back elbow jumps up this way. You guys see here, boom. Now my first movement with my hands has to be where? I can't get straight to the baseball from that position. Right there, I gotta go around. Okay, so that's another thing is in what players, the reason players do that is their mind tells them their body is stronger in that position. If you just think about it, man, when you were that age, just drop your hands, just get here, and you just felt strong as shit and shit. You know what I mean? But you have to fight that instinct as a hitter to make yourself consistent. So, boom, I don't feel as powerful in this position. I truly don't. But my hands are going to be able to operate in a more productive manner. Okay, keep my barrel to the zone longer. So, stride load. Front foot should always land on ball of foot and stay square to the plate. We talked heel spinning. Okay, so when I'm striding, whatever stride I have, I always want to make sure I land in that position. Okay, when I commit, yeah, you'll find guys that naturally rotate. Okay, here, boom, they commit. I give them a 45-degree angle. So they literally have, if I'm working off of this square, I can be there. Okay, as I rotate anything more than that, I'm losing power. Or I'm not being as firm on my outside.
What's that?
They wanted it on their mount or inside.
And again, always look for players who revert back to duck feet, okay, in their stride, because the second they go back, I don't know what the hell happens, but okay, they'll open back up with that backside, which makes them do what? Squish the buck. Pulling right. Swing, obviously, this is something that I think should be a consistent variable in every player. So, you have checkpoints. Whatever your stance or stride is, those are all checkpoints to me. You can start here, you can start here, you can start here. As long as you get to those main positions, okay, those checkpoints, I don't have a problem with it, but the swing I think is something that should be consistent all the way through. Lower half ignites a swing. This is actually pretty deep stuff here. We start talking about hitting. Heel triggers. What a heel trigger is believe it or not, the front heel is what starts the swing. Okay, so when I load here, the second my front heel goes down, that's when my mind tells my body, hey, it's time to bring the hands in the lower half. So when I'm here, boom, and I commit, that's when these heels pretty much switch. So it's there, and boom, hands, it all happens within a tenth of a second. Which is another reason why I don't like guys to start flat-footed or land flat-footed, because you take that heel trigger out of the mix. When you see kids do that, I can guarantee you 100% of them lunge at the baseball, because they don't have a trigger. They'll start their swing, they'll get a lot of check swings. Boom, there. But if they're on their toe, okay, now they have something to kind of stop them a little bit, okay, and separate those two things. So, heel triggers, rubber band effect, okay? One thing I like to teach guys when we separate, okay? I get here, I just separate it, okay? The rubber band effect is if I load correctly, I should feel my body and my core tighten up, okay? So, if, you'll see guys that just kind of, if you're up here, your hands start here, down low, okay, I don't feel like powerful in this position. But if my hands go back, front foot goes forward, I got weight down here, my core is wound up like a rubber band. Get this rubber band on this bat, take it and spin it around. If I let go, that's what happens when I commit with the core. So that's what I mean by the rubber band effect. And something to really, I think is something that we teach our guys. When we get in this position, we should really feel our core, okay? Ignite it. Hands take an A to C path to the baseball. This AKA, I call this A to C is another word for short or staying inside the baseball. You guys have all heard long swings, short swings. Okay, I'd like for one of our big phrases to be A to C. Okay, and for the sake of labeling A, B, and C, A stands for awesome. Okay, and what I mean by that is just an awesome hand load position. I couldn't think of anything else for it, so awesome it is. Okay, B stands for bat. B is when we cast our hands out, so kids, can visually associate A, B. Okay, A to C is A, C stands for contact, I'm there. Boom. Pretty simple. Staying inside the baseball. Not, one thing I see with a lot of kids is they think staying inside is kind of T-Rexing it. There, it's not, you still have to get extension. So if I'm here, I'm driving the baseball middle, boom, I'm there. Versus B is here, T-Rexing it, it's kind of that inside out, you know, your hands here, you can tell I'm not very powerful. So A to C is, you know, when you see a kid with a long swing, boom, hey, A to C, A to C. Coming out of training, they'll know exactly what the hell that means. And they'll make it quick. You know, all you have to do is say A to C, and they'll know, okay, now I got to shorten my hands a little bit. So, simple and easy.
Where are you at? And you hear a lot of guys say they'll drop it into the slot. Here, here, that barrel's almost parallel to the ground. Power slot, into C. It looks like you take it straight here to here. But I've also seen guys teach it where they'll bring it in, they call it the slot position, where the bat's not like this, laying.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about staying on plane. I've broken down a lot of major league hitters. I've yet to seen somebody that gets out in here.
It's
You know,
inside.
everybody, if you watch, I mean, some of the best hitters I know, George Brett, when he was the best hitter for a good 12, 14 years, his barrel stayed literally 2 inches from his chest until his hands were out here. So, I mean, he was here, boom, as he's going, that barrel stays close here, boom, you know what I mean? I think anything, you know, I kind of know what you're saying.
The other
Guys are
cast,
teaching that.
the barrel drops literally in the, they
Right.
call it the slot, your elbow comes in the slot position.
Yeah, yeah, I know a lot of guys call it staying connected. There's
Okay.
connection with the lower half, connection with the elbows here, but I've always taught keep your barrel above your hands as long as you can.
Okay.
If your barrel is above your hands here,
It's like chopping a tree.
as long, yeah, exactly. If your barrel is above your hands, you're gonna stay on top of the ball. The second you kind of drop and that barrel gets level or even with your hands, lower half of the baseball.
It's what
Yeah.
Williams and Boys will go to.
I won't get in trouble if you hear me cuss or anything.
They call it chopping the tree, so pretend like you're going to chop a tree, so you're coming down at the ball basically, so the barrel's coming, it stays in the zone the longest.
Header being
Just get the
quiet.
kid not to fly his shoulder open would be good.
Another thing that I always teach is in the swing, these are just basic mechanics to look for, is how is the barrel staying through the baseball contact? Okay, one thing I can see it like a T-work, I'll just basically stand off to the side, and all I'm looking for is that how far out do I kind of see it? Because you only see a flash of it, you know what I mean? It happens so quick, and I just kind of, you know, make a mental note, how far out did I see it? Did I even see it at all? Did it just pull off from here? Okay, was the barrel head, did I see it way out here, which means you got good extension through the baseball? Okay, so that's also another thing that I look for in the swing. And I'll tell you what, I've been doing this now for 6 years, and I've really started to pick some heavy brains in what they look for. And when I first got into it, everything happened too fucking fast for me. I'm not gonna lie. You know, if I was trying to see the things that I'm seeing now, it's just, it comes with repetition. It comes from literally just looking at a kid and focus on one thing. All right, let's focus on seeing his barrel through the ball, and you'll start to pick it up and see it. And now, you know, now when I look at hitters, I can see them full speed, but, you know, I don't mean to be cocky, but it's like, sometimes I can almost see them in slow motion, you know what I mean? Because I've been looking for these things for so long. So barrel stays through the baseball contact. Backside or hip, you'll hear me say backside a lot. I know, you know, I don't mind backside hip, you know, call it the same thing. Drives to the pitch, front side locks out at 45-degree limit, we talked about that. And why I capitalized and bolded and underlined it, drives to the pitch, is that our hips, and this is something that I've changed very, very recently based off of just learning more about hitting, is I've always taught kids, hey, drive your hip to the pitcher, drive your hip to the pitcher. What I'm seeing now, breaking down film and talking to scouts, is major league hitters drive their hip to the pitch. What that means is, let's say I'm going to drive this pitch middle, okay, my backside's here, I'm going to take my back hip here, boom, right back where it came from. If I'm inside, okay, I'm working up here, all right, inside half, I'm going to take my hip this way. I'm going to try to drive it a little bit more through the baseball. Okay, when I really see it is in outside pitches. Where when I get here, an outside pitch, okay, I'm going to take my hip there with the pitch. Boom, and there you'll see a lot of guys that take that first step, you know what I mean, if they stroke a ball the opposite way, their hips actually taking them that way, and away they go. And you'll see it a lot with righties, you know, they're here, taking that hip with the ball. Before, you know, what I taught, and then I'm always up for changing my philosophies, as I taught straight back up the middle, straight back up the middle. So I got a kid who's trying to hit an outside pitch. He's driving his hips this way, and everything's just a little bit behind, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I don't think it was a drastic, you know, bad way of teaching it, but you know, just something, little things that I picked up. So when I'm working with guys off the tee, I always teach them, drive your hips with the pitch. So if I'm working oppo especially, I'm working on that. There versus there. Eyes remain in hitting zone after contact. Another big one, obviously keep your eye on the ball, Johnny, keep your eye on the ball. You know, I think it goes without saying, you guys, you know, probably said that to your blue in the face. I'll get to some drills here that'll help you guys work on that and try to, you know, build it into the muscle memory. But I always say, hey, eyes in the hitting zone is what I say. Keep your eyes in the hitting zone. I honestly think all hitters are immune to see ball, hit ball, and they're immune to keep your eye on it. I think it just
They wanna
goes
keep their
here.
eye on it, they just wanna watch it go way out.
Yeah. So I refrain from using those two terms, eyes in the hitting zone, or hey, nose on the baseball. Nose on the baseball, eyes in the hitting zone. Separation. One of the most important parts of being a consistent hitter, separation is not a measurement of distance. Rather, it literally means that we separate phases 2 and 3 with time. Okay, so phase 2 being our stride or our load, okay, and phase 3 being our swing. Great hitters separate their stride from their swing with an ever so slight pause, which allows them time to track the baseball and decide if it's a pitch they want to swing at. Separation to me, you know, when I tell guys, hey, we got 3 phases of our swing, stride, separate, swing. Okay, so boom, I got my stride, I got my separation, which is not like separating, you know, distance. It's separation in time, because I got to separate a stride from my swing. When you see guys that don't do it, they try to execute both of those things, their stride and their swing at the same time. Looks like that. Stride and swing at the same time versus stride, separate, swing. And it's ever so slightly. When you see a major league hitter do it, that's why I think their body timing, their athleticism is off the charts, because they're trying to hit a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, and they're getting down just on time, and they're keeping that little bit of rhythm, that little bit of momentum to drive, because the last thing they want to do is what I call stalling. Now, wait, now I just killed everything. You know what I mean? Kind of like that pitcher that you see come up here, you know, freeze, well, he just stopped all his momentum. You know what I mean? Now he's got to pick it back up again versus that pitcher that floats. You know what I mean? His momentum is continuous. So, separation, and you know, when I speak with the guys, you know, I look at them and I say, somebody raise their hand and tell me educatedly what separation means. And I ask them like every single practice, because when they're done after 8 weeks, I want every kid to be able to raise his hand and tell me what separate means. Another way of saying separate is get down early. You guys have heard it. Get your front foot down early. For the sake of, you know, being young kids, they can get down really early and wait. You know, as they get older and older, all right, let's get down a little bit closer to when he reaches his foot strike. Our foot strike should equal the pitcher's foot strike.
So how do you, if you got a kid that is not timing the ball correct, you know, you tell him to load earlier,
Yep.
which puts him in a stagnant position, but that's the only way he's gonna get on the ball, if he loads earlier than what he's supposed to load.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Again, yeah, it all boils down to putting him in a good position to hit from.
Right.
If I'm late and I'm not down in time, it means I'm moving, the ball's in the hitting zone, my front foot's there.
Right.
I can't accomplish anything.
Right.
Okay, but if I'm here, okay, yeah, if I was sitting there for half a second, I'm still in a better position. So you'd rather have kids down early as they evolve as hitters. We talk about on deck approach, get his ass timed up. Okay, you got 20 pitches.
This
From
is,
being in the hole to being on deck.
This is all being done with the assumption that the kids are coachable.
Exactly.
The reference that you're referring to wasn't coachable.
No, I'm talking about other kids on our team that.
So if you had to start from scratch
Mm-hmm.
and you had a kid, what kind of stride would you teach, or what kind of, how big would that be?
Very basic, 2 to 3 inches, 2 inches. I try to keep kids as quiet as possible. See all these kids with, you know, big ass strides, this and that. I don't really think they're good enough athletes to do that. And the more movement, the less likely you are to be consistent with barrel and body control. So I try to keep them very
Quiet.
Very close.
Outside Hayden, we don't have a lot of kickers.
No.
Oh, that's, sorry, a lot of the biggies today just come up and down.
Yeah, I mean, you look at pool holes, simple, Miguel Cabrera, very simple. I know, you know, just from talking with Junie and Chris Check, the Indians teach a very similar thing. Although they do teach kind of like a leg kick to a lot of their guys. They teach attack, 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 drive, drive, drive. So it's more of, you know what I mean? But it's the same philosophy, to get down early.
It's not working.
Okay, I don't like it because they get guys like what's his name, Martinez?
Yeah.
He's got that, he can't hit with shit.
There's guys that start wide. get
Yeah,
there.
no, he said the Indians are.
Yeah, I don't like that
It's not
either.
working.
Bring back, but they're on their toe when they come back.
But all
I
right,
would say, make sure when you talk to guys, just young guys that have other coaches, a lot of guys will say separation is what you're calling stride.
Yep.
The separation is simply the hand separated from the feet.
No, yeah,
So
no,
just
that's
make
not
sure
what
you're talking about timing.
Timing,
But guys that
exactly.
have been coached that this is separation.
Yep. Separate to me simply means
Yeah.
stride, separation, then swing, and trust me, they'll get it drilled in their heads with the drill work and all that.
So for the first clinic, for me, just making a point to all the coaches, I'll be sitting there with the notebook and every hitter, because you go through your initial hitting analysis, if you will. It's on us, I guess, you know, to make sure that as we're learning this, I'm learning a lot more about hitting today than I ever knew, thank you. I think, you know, it's important for us as we take this approach and say we're gonna be a consistent organization. Obviously at 10, 11 years, it's gonna be a lot different than 15, 16, 14 years. But, you know, to take these philosophies and make sure that we're ingraining what Ryan's teaching
Yeah.
every practice. I know for me, there's gonna be, starting in October, weekly hitting sessions. You know, we gotta keep ingraining that as coaches and not get off the path and, you know, like
Right.
you said, the terminology's gotta be the same.
That's why I'm trying to emphasize some words, you know, like backside and hip. Those are what I think should be acceptable for us to say. You know, other, you know, barrel positioning. You know, if you look at the very back, I put terminology. I just put a shitload of phrases and words that I say. That's all stuff we should, you know, start to memorize. But yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, when you guys go to practice, I want you just saying the exact same thing. You know, so it's, you know, we're teaching the same system, pretty much. And then I have no problem with guys adding on their own flavor, their own twist. You know what I mean? Let's just make sure we talk about it. Let's keep everything consistent. I could care less, man. You got another word for A to C, and you want to teach it. You know, let's make sure, you know, we're trying to keep the same. You know, if I got to, you know, say A to donkey or whatever for your team and A to C for everybody else, I have no problem. But anyway, get back to the thing here. Grip. I've helped hitters reach the next level, scholarships, make their high school teams, and sometimes the only adjustment I've really made with them is simply their grip on the bat. Fingertips versus palm. What I mean by that is when we grip a bat, we should almost grip it like a hammer with our bottom hand. Okay, good firm grip. With the top hand, you got two choices. One, you can grip it in your fingertips here, or two, you can bury it in your palm. When you usually guys that bury it in your palm, which I would say is a good 3/4 majority, 75% of guys, you'll notice I call it the death grip. They over-rotate their knuckles here, kind of get these knuckles lined up. And when I get the contact here, what naturally happens is the way my hands are gripping the bat, I'm barely in the hitting zone, I'm already rolling over. Okay, just off of the grip of the bat, okay? And plus you can kind of see in my hand, okay, I don't have a lot of control, you know what I mean? Versus when I get this barrel, or this shaft in my fingertips here, okay, I have a lot more mobility. Okay, I can be a little bit more precise for those last second, I call them subconscious adjustments. Boom, there, okay? And most importantly, okay, most hitters get a death grip. They bury the bat in their palm.
Did you ever teach this?
Mine,
Younger
yeah.
guys, if you hold the bat out like this,
Finger-
your
yep.
fingers, they
Yep.
should point straight ahead. And if
Then their knuckles
like
are
that.
Yep, yep, I think I put that on there. We want bat loosening the fingertips, our top hand, the thumb trick. You know, I teach this to guys that like it. You know, we actually, Tri-C, we played Lake Erie this weekend. Come to find out, I taught this kid one trick before he went up, went and hit a walk-off home run. He's just a strong-ass kid. You guys probably know him from Parkland Deutsch.
Yeah.
Big-ass, strong sucker. And he was this, he was and no shot. I struck him out 3 times in a row, and I literally looked at him and said, dude, right here, put your thumb right there, and it almost pushes the bat into your fingertips. And you want to be loose. And sure enough, with his bat speed, he's swinging about 96 miles an hour, right here, and it was through contact. Okay, so what that allows us to do is obviously, yeah, we get a little bit more control, but if you notice, my hands are here. Okay, my barrel starts in the hitting zone, and now my hands are in a good position to keep my barrel through the hitting zone there, okay? You all hear Tony Gwynn, top hand up to contact, that was always his big thing, and something I definitely teach. Boom, if I'm here, I can't, you know, and when I'm at contact, my palm's there versus there. So this is a huge thing. You'll see a huge difference. If you get some kids that are up in here, okay, just get them there, nice and loose, loose top hand. When I was young, I always thought the major leaguers were showboating, like, you know, trying to have some flair and stuff. But that was just them, loose top hand, barrel control. Boom.
Is that realistic at our age, you think? Is that gonna be tough for the kids?
I honestly, I think it's better for younger kids to do this, to do that right there. Some of the older guys can handle the bat, they can handle that, you know, but again, it's not something you have to instill in every kid. The other thing is door knocking knuckles, kind of what Dave's getting to. You know, you don't knock on a door like this, knock on a door like this, line those bad boys up, loose top hand there, and then obviously the finger trick.
Yeah, that's what.
It's very simple, yeah.
That's the easiest one.
So,
Just, yeah.
any one of those ways to teach it.
This son's the best. Every time this
So-
son gets into the plate, first thing he does, you'll see him go like this. And then, I swear, to you, every single time.
So yeah, long story short, I think when you death grip, your body and your hand position on the bat, see if I'm here, my barrel's in the hitting zone, and it's out of the hitting zone. I'm not very consistent as a hitter there. If I'm here, my barrel's in the hitting zone, in, and out. Okay, I have a much better chance of being successful with my barrel there.
So how do you teach to stay in the zone as long as possible?
You know, obviously A to C, okay, because when I talk about the hitting zone, I'm really talking from about the middle of my body to just outside of my front foot. This area, kind of right in here, is what I consider the hitting zone. Okay, if I can keep my barrel in this zone from start to finish, I'm going to be consistent. A to C is obviously starting point A, boom, to contact C. If I can, you know, focus on having short hands and staying inside the ball, my barrel's naturally going to stay inside.
Can I borrow the bat for a
Yes.
second? We were taught something at camp.
Yeah, that's
This, on the tee. So, take your hand like this, and it teaches them to push the bat and then the finish. Do you do that?
I don't do that drill. I've seen it.
Because we
Yeah, was that Duncan?
incorporate-
Duncan was teaching that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We incorporated that in our.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that drill before. I've taught it, but I guess for the sake of not doing every drill I've ever heard of, it's not one of my top ones.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think
Are you opposed to?
no, not at all. I know that's, you know, I don't think that's
Because I'll
something you
tell you
want to
what,
do.
Chris Fryer started doing that, and he can crush it.
Drive, yeah, yeah. And that's all it's really teaching you is driving through the ball.
Right.
Very simple.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Top hand hitters, we kind of already covered this. Top hand controls the barrel. Sorry. What's that?
Here, it's right here.
You don't have it? Top hand controls the barrel, bottom hand controls the shaft. You know, the knob, top hand hitters create backspin. And for this, I mean, I'm just gonna break it down for you, for those of you guys that don't know. You hear always the analysts saying, oh, backspin, that's why that guy's good, that's why that guy's good. If you're a top hand hitter, means to me you're cutting the ball in half, you're staying on top of the ball here, okay? A lot of guys say match planes, okay? When you're matching planes, a lot of guys are here, okay, or there. So literally you're right there, okay, kind of hitting the knuckleball, okay? But if I'm here, and I can almost cut that ball in half with the downward action and then finish through the baseball, okay? That right there is the action, and that creates backspin.
It's like
Backspin, oh, excuse me?
It's like golf.
Exactly, yeah, pretty much. If you can create backspin, the physics behind it is these laces in the surface area of this baseball grip the air around it. So the faster you spin this baseball, the faster and the farther the ball will go. Okay, if you just want to break it down, and I break it down to kids all the time. Just think of this as a tire. Okay, the faster you hit the gas pedal, the faster the tire goes, the faster and farther the car goes. Same thing on a baseball. If you learn to stay on top, cut it in half, create backspin, that ball flies. At the next level, guys that create backspin are the toughest guys to really judge in the outfield. And being an outfielder myself, when I'm going back on a ball, okay, I'm getting my first initial read here. Okay, I kind of know my angle, I see it. Okay, I put my head down, guy gets that backspin, I'm like, oh shit, there it is, you know what I mean? ball beating. Somebody that doesn't have backspin, I call them WTP guys, warning track power guys. Boom, they hit it, ball's not going, okay, easy to read. You know what I mean? It just kind of hangs up there. So staying on top, being a top hand guy creates backspin. Top hand hitters hit more line drives and hard ground balls, keep the ball out of the air. Big thing I always preach to our guys, and, it doesn't matter whether it's off season, day 1, day 90, or in the middle of the year. So we line drives and hard ground balls. If a guy gets a hard ground ball, I don't care if it's right at him, I'll praise him to death. Because when you hit a ground ball, you make that defense do 3 things. I call it catch, throw, catch. He's got to field it, he's got to throw it, and then they got to catch it on the back end to get you out. Okay, a lot of room to fuck up in my opinion. You know what I mean? Especially at the younger age groups. Okay, if you're that guy that wants to continuously get under the ball and just hit towering pop-ups, okay, it's much easier to do 1 thing than it is to do 3. And just in basic statistics, if you get a team to buy into that mentality, and you're a line drive, ground ball hitting team, you're going to win games. I can guarantee it, because you're making that defense do 3 things versus 1. And in my opinion, especially the new bats at the older age groups, nobody's a true power hitter anymore. There's not one person in high school baseball in this area that's going to drop 12 to 15 home runs and be a power guy. It's just, you know what I mean? So might as well buy into the mentality of hard hit ground balls, hard line drives. Best ways to train a hitter to be a top hand guy, always start with the grit. Dry reps, you got to crawl before you can walk. So, if I want a hitter to really stay through a baseball, I'll teach them slow motion and dry reps. Kind of get them to mimic this barrel pattern here. You know what I mean? Start slow. Focus on barrel path through the ball and T drills. That's when I said, kind of sit off to the side and just really read. Are you getting this action there, or are you getting that action? And it'll happen so fast, you'll almost just see like a whip of the bat. You'll see it come out to here versus there or here. You know what I mean? So when I stand off to the side, that's one thing I'm looking for. And very easy if you're throwing side toss. So if I'm sitting here to a right-hander and I'm here, I'm almost just kind of focusing here. And I'm just seeing, where's this barrel get to? Is it getting here? Is it getting here? Is it just getting there? Okay. Focus on barrel positioning and your load. Another big one. We talked about barrel load. Okay, setters versus wrappers versus guys that get here. If you want a guy to be a top hand hitter and have power, he's going to be there. He's going to be right there. He's going to be a top hand guy, regardless. So that's another thing is when I see guys load, and not only just where they load. I think it's one thing. It's not just where you load. I should probably rephrase that. It's where you fire from. Okay, because I'll see guys come up here and they'll stride separate, and everything looks good, and then boom, where do they fire?